very prevalent idea these days that we are super connected. It's not uncommon to hear that we are the most connected we ever have been. Oftentimes, people will say that we are, in fact, too connected, that we are just so connected and it's a bad idea and we shouldn't have opened up all these ways of socializing and we just need to go back to simpler times. I want to challenge this idea today. I want to ask a couple questions. One, what does it mean to be connected, right? We assume that being on social media, speaking with each other on social media and interacting, not too dissimilar in the way me and you are right now, is being more connected. Is it really? I want to ask that question. I also want to ask, how are we actually more connected? And is it really a bad thing? Is it a good thing? What does this look like? So, the reason I thought about this whole topic is because I was thinking back to when Andrew Cuomo announced that he would continue running for mayor of New York City, right? In the general election after Zohran Mamdani beat him in the primary. Go Zohran, shout out Zohran. If you guys are in the city, you better be voting for Zohran. He is awesome, I love him, and I canvassed for him. But that's besides the point. Huge Zohran fan. That's besides the point though. We can't get caught on that stray. I know it'll go this whole episode. I was watching this video of him announcing his run, and I thought it was really interesting because I could see the metrics around it, right? I could see that it had 2.3 million views. I could see that it only had 1,000 likes. I could see that Zohran had a tweet right under it that was just a link to go donate to his campaign that had over 100,000 likes. And I could look at these two things, and I was thinking, wow, this is crazy that the modern equivalent of in, 100 years ago, people being in the town square and let's say, in this weird alternate timeline, Andrew Cuomo standing up on the bucket and he's like, I'm gonna run for mayor. And then everybody, there's a million people in the town square and only a couple guys in the front clap. And then, the other guy's in the back and he goes, we don't like you. And then everybody claps. That's the equivalent of that I am watching play out on social media by gauging through these numbers and through these likes. And I was thinking, wow, this age of connection is insane. It's bonkers. It's awesome. I thought it was cool, but then I was thinking you probably couldn't fit that many people in the town square back then, right? Let's say you could maybe fit, instead of 1 million, it's gonna be 1,000 people, right? Just take those numbers, condense them down, whatever that might look like. So I'm more connected than ever because I'm seeing these things faster. And I am, that makes sense to me intuitively. I'm more connected because I'm seeing more people have more reactions in a faster time, in a faster way. But then I was like, let's say that back then the town square grew to be 1 million people instead of that 1,000. Would I say I'm more connected, or would I say there's more people there? And would hearing 2 people in the back clap, would that make me feel like I'm more connected? Is that actually a connection to those people, or is that just me watching a scene happen? Of course, it's a very important differentiating thing to make, or point to make rather, that being in person is very different than being online, right? There's an argument made that yes, you would actually be more connected if there were 1 million people there, and that is a very different experience. So that's one element to that, right? I went to this watch party for one of the debates back when it happened at a bar here in New York, and I remember, seeing everybody clap, seeing them boo when they didn't like things. That is, in some way, a form of connection that feels very different than what's going on the internet, right? So I want to make that distinction that it is different to be in person than it is to be online, right? And just having more people that are talking on the internet doesn't exactly make you more connected. It just means you're seeing more things, right? So what do you deem to be a connection in your own life on a very individual basis, right? Yes, there is a fact that when you're in person watching a bunch of people do something or participating in an event, you feel connected to that, right? You feel connected to a community, to a sense of people around you. Maybe you talk to a stranger. That's all great, right? But outside of that, what do you truly consider to be a connection? Probably just that, right? Talking to people, empathizing with them, talking about why are you here? Why are you at X event that we're at right now? How do you know the host? All these things. That's what we consider to be connected, right? I don't think that many of us would say that we consider having 1 million people at a party we don't talk to be connected. You're just somewhere, right? This is all to say that I do think that this idea that we're in this era of of super connectivity is probably kind of false, because I don't think we're more connected. I just think there's more people. I think we're just seeing more pixels on a screen. And it's not even all that accurate of a analogy to say you're at a party with just more people, because you're not at a party with more people. You're at a party that has an RSVP, that has a little counter on the side that says there are more people there, but you only really know that it's you in the room, and maybe you can send the reel to 5 friends too, but you don't even know if they're gonna get it because they're not active, right? This thing that is social media, that is in this new sense of interconnectivity, is definitely not personal connection. That we can definitely make clear. Online friends, these things are great. Yes, I'm never going to deny the fact that you can be connected via the internet, right? I've had phases in my life where I was struggling socially with maybe it was a friend group I had in school or whatever, and I went online when I was younger, right? So I can look at that 100%, be like, that was an example of being connected. And it's for that reason I'm not totally willing to discount the fact that we are maybe more connected. Because as much as I think that this idea that we're the most connected we've ever been in history is wrong, because I don't think we have as many personal connections as we once did. I will stand on the fact that I think being in a town where you will interact with 10 people, know their names, know deeply about them, is probably more connected than knowing a million people online that you just kind of like understand that they have a username, or maybe like, have an interest in common with you, and they also have, like Lady Gaga fan in their bio. Like, these are two very different types of connectivity. I guess they're, both in one way or another a form of connection. One of these things is to me real connection, when the other I just do not view that way. That is my take on the connection side of things. But there is a fact that, like, globally we are more connected. When we go from being in the old world where like you're in a hut in the feudal times, I don't really know this era of history that well, but I do know for a fact there was a time when we went from being like disconnected to like trade was happening. Like, you could go on a ship across, and you knew that like, oh, there was another people of another country over there, and they have their own culture and their own thing, and that's really cool, right? I guess suppose you maybe like an early, not globalization like an economic sense, but an early sense of like, there is a deeper thing here, right? That was definitely more connection, right? I think in that sense, we are actually experiencing more connection. It is very cool that right now, I could talk to somebody from China. Like right now, I could message somebody from China and be like, what's going on in Shanghai? Where, maybe they're in Hong Kong, maybe they're in, the insane city that is like my number one place I really want to go. Is it like Kong? I don't know. I probably butchered that name. I'm so sorry. I hope that maybe though somebody's like, hey, you're gonna learn to pronounce it, come over here to the city with me. I had a friend who's literally there right now, and I'm so mad he didn't invite me to go. Like, I was doing the thing where I was like, oh, I really want to go. I really have always wanted to go. And like, he's from there. Like, he speaks Chinese like fluently. Like, he was raised there. So like, he could help me out so hard. And I was doing like like, it's really on my bucket list to go, and I just don't know if I'll ever really be in a place where I can go again. Like, guys, if he was like, you know what, if you buy a ticket, you can go with me tomorrow, I would have disappeared. I would have disappeared here for a month, and then I would have come back and like, guys, I was in China. And you all would have been like, we get it. Rant over. This era of us knowing what's going on in the world, of being like, we can see videos from the other side of the world in seconds. That's more connection. That is 100% more connection. And I'm going to say that's a good thing, right? Because in the past, when if you were in one of these smaller neighborhoods, as we were discussing, and somebody next to you was like, oh, you hear like, in Russia, they're like scary and bad, then you would be like, oh yeah, like that's true. Nowadays though, not to say that we've completely eliminated any sense of fear or othering from the world, but you will see videos on your phone of all over the world, and I think everybody generally has the sense of like, I'm a little bit less scared of I'm not gonna ever judge another culture or anything like that, right? I think people are overall more open to things because they're seeing them all the time. Like everybody that's older that I know is like, oh my God, China's so scary. But everybody younger that I know is like, I Show Speed just went to China, flying car, that was awesome, right? This is awesome, I think. I think this is a really good thing. I cannot say this is for everyone. I'm sure that like, just as much as I am in a bubble and know all my friends are like, think the world is way cooler and are now naming locations they wouldn't name before that they want to go travel to, and I think that's awesome. I'm sure if I was in another group, if there was like some evil Max Dice out there and his evil friend group, I'd be like, yeah, it's terrible because we got to see all these other countries on our Twitter feeds. You know, like I'm sure there is that too, right? But I'm going to go on a very optimistic limb here and say that hopefully on a large scale, we have gotten better in that sense, right? Like we are seeing more, we're more worldly off rip just because we're seeing all these things going on. I think that's awesome. I think that's the best part of all this personally. Because I do think that that's a real big change. So are we more connected? I don't think we are. And I think this idea that people are like sad or lonely now because we're too connected via the internet, I think is wrong. I think we're too distracted from making real connections because we're experiencing this other form of connection on the internet. You know, when I am, I'm not really on Instagram that much anymore except to post these paintings when that happens, but I remember back when I was on Instagram, when I did have personal social media like 2 years ago now, I would see other people's posts and I would never feel more connected to them. I'd feel bad because it's, you know, they did this cool thing and I didn't, right? You're comparing, you just feel bad. There's no good to that, right? You know, the fact that I'm watching all my friends put out curated personas of themselves that I know aren't real because they FaceTime me when they're on that vacation and they were just crying because they had a sunburn. But this photo, they're smiling. Seeing that does not make me feel more connected to my friends. It makes me feel like I'm watching their performance, like, which is great. I'm not, you know, shaming anybody here, but like these things, that's not more connection, right? I don't think we're more connected on an individual basis. I do think we're globalized though in a way we probably never have been, and that I think is awesome. I think that's so cool because I think that's one of the few positives. I just wish that positive came also with the edge of us genuinely being connected to one another more, right? Because I think we have a greater understanding of everything globally because we can see it all on our phones and that's really cool, but I think we have a lesser understanding of the people right next door to us. And I don't think that's good. I think that's a bad thing. And I think the reason we're distracted is because we're seeing like, I don't know, Labubu on our phone or whatever. That's probably like 2 years old by now. But like, you know, we're seeing these distractions and it's stopping us from making these real connections because we think this is real connection, but it's not. That's my take. This is the painting. Wanted to add all that texture to the brown today. Just wanted to go all in on the brown, and I like it. I think this has like an oaky kind of feeling to it. You guys know I like brown a lot. Maybe you don't know that, because I guess if you go on my other channel, you'll see I have brown for all the branding, and that same brown kind of texture that I use in the branding. It's also the background of the painting posts on Instagram. Like that's my background on my phone and my computer and my iPad. I love brown. I'm a huge brown fan. It's one of my favorite colors. I have these brown pants. I wear these brown pants in a Paint&Talk once. Favorite Paint&Talk to edit because I was just like, those are great pants. I love brown. So this is an awesome brown. Again, we'll be talking about these in Paint&Talk 233, so stay tuned for that and go check out the Instagram because these will be up there when they're all done in 4 days. So guys, gals, and pals, until next time, my name is Max Dice. This has been Paint&Talk episode 229. I'm here every morning, painting and talking with you all. I did like a weird point this time, like my finger's not quite how it usually is acting. I don't know why I said that.